Hello. Testing audio.
Hello.
Testing audio. Testing audio. Give us a heads up if you can hear me say something, guys.
I hear you
So good.
guys.
Say something, Adam.
Something.
All right, cool. There's a delay. So.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Testing audio.
I think they can hear us. I can hear it through your screen.
I'm
If
getting a
you-
lot of echoes going on right now.
Yeah, if you can mute that, please, that'd be great. All right, so that way we don't have. We were just talking about how I don't like to hear myself, so that's like that's like double the pain because I can hear myself right now through my own headset, and then I have to hear myself again through your guys.
That's how they do the voice scramble thing. You know when you do those voice scramble things, you hear your voice play back at a delay, and it completely screws up your ability to talk.
Oh yeah, see that's already messing me up. All right, so today we have a guest. We've had him before, but for those of you who do not know, I'll let Adam introduce himself and what he's about. Adam, you can take the floor.
Why, thank you. And thank you for inviting me again. I'm Adam, Adam Duff. I'm from Lucid Pixel. I am apparently the most famous artist on the internet, according to me. And and thank you for having me back. It's fun.
Yeah, he's also a pretty well-respected educator online as well. You guys should check out his YouTube channel. He's got more followers than me, so technically that means he's better than me. So
As of January 14th, we both hit 40K at exactly the same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what sparked this. Hey, why don't we hang out again?
Yeah.
At least for me, I was just like, yeah, we should do another stream.
Yeah.
Just catch up, see how things have been, and talk about art and talk about current affairs of the art world and what we think, and maybe other stuff that might just come up, and then maybe answer some questions towards the end. Yeah, what do you think?
Sounds perfect. I'd love to.
Okay, cool. So, me and Mike have been actually doing more YouTube streams. We're trying to stream like every week. We missed like a week or two here and there, but my philosophy is usually like it's not about like always hitting the mark every single time, all the time. It's about like trying to be consistent on a longer stretch. Like if we were to look at it as a year-long project, like a 52-week project, did we hit at least like more than half,
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times, I don't know if this is true for you as well, a lot of times people will find that, oh man, I didn't do that thing in a row, so then they just kind of start to really fall back and then ultimately just stop. I know with working out, this happens to me more often
I was
than I'd
thinking
like.
that exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, where you work out and then you stop working out for like a week because you went on holiday or something, and then you
And then
come
that's
back
it.
and you just don't work out ever again for
Yeah.
like months.
Yeah. I think we've done that before in the past. That we very often make that connection between training and art. Seems there's a lot of crossovers there as far as just the professional mindset and consistency and all those things, right? And I guess it came from doing this for a longer time, and I'm in my 40s now, and for me, looking back, it's about the big picture, right? It's am I still here this many years later, and am I still being productive? It's not about hitting that mark perfectly every single time, although consistency is very important. I don't beat myself up about it too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think consistency is important in the regards of what we were just saying, right? Like in the long term, and don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important, and I think it's a really good theme, because when we think about like why your channel is doing really well, I was thinking about this. It's because you are a lot more consistent. It's just how it is, and because of that, like you're reaping the rewards of this consistency. It's really, really cool, man.
I'll tell you something though. Let me interject there because
Yeah, go for it.
There's something that really helps with consistency, and something that I just made a point of doing before I started 2020. Like every time a year rolls around, I try to make some kind of an upgrade to my life type of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
And when you're working professionally, let's say for me and Anthony producing YouTube videos and stuff like that, and being consistent if this is something you plan on doing on the long term, invest into ways that allow you to kind of just point and shoot when it comes to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Setting yourself up in a way that allows you to just walk in, do your job, and not have to set things up. Because in the past, setting up my station for teaching or for producing art or for shooting a YouTube video was half a day. So if something interfered with that, there goes my shoot, right? So now I kind of invested myself more into having a station where I just click on a few buttons, start recording, and I'm good to go, right?
Yeah,
That definitely helps.
The barrier of entry, right? Like the keep it at a low entry level. No, that's exactly right. I I agree with this principle. There was one of my favorite artists in Bud, Vitaly Bolgarov. He was talking to me about this type of stuff. Like he said he would like leave his running shoes by his bed, so when he would wake up, he would just put them on and just go run. You know, and
that's smart. That's smart. I like that.
But it's like what you're saying. It's like, how do we kind of like make it so that it's easier to do the things we know we should be doing? You know what I mean? And so, oh, you know what? I just need to do something. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. I was painting this whole time. Amateur move, bro. Amateur move.
I messaged you on Facebook.
The Robotpencil logo is pretty.
Yeah, you should just tell me.
Well, I didn't want you to be like,
How dare you? How dare you? You should interrupt me directly. It's all right. I'll just start over. I'll do new whole painting. It wasn't that impressive anyway.
and that's the secret.
And that's the secret. You just paint while no one's looking.
Yeah.
All right. So and I'm the same way. I have the same kind of philosophy. I try to have all of my things pretty close by, so it's easier to just kind of like, you know, make me take the next step. I've been even doing this with client work where I know I have to do a certain amount of stuff, like gather reference and like set up my file. Like even just doing that, like even though I maybe like hanging out with the kids or I'm on like break or whatever, I could still like get like the reference, put it in like a folder, like on my phone, or use my Pinterest or something. And then when I get to my computer, it's all kind of ready to go. And then I just go and do it.
Yeah.
For instance,
sorry,
one more example. Like we're also like trying to build on to a Patreon, right? And one of the things that I've been doing is like every day just kind of add a little bit more to what we should do. Like today we talked about like a larger game plan, the stability of like maintaining it for long term, because I've tried different things in the past and for whatever reason they just kind of weren't as consistent or as effective as I was hoping. So we're taking lessons from that and trying to pay attention to what like my actual general habits are instead of like my ambitions of what I want to do, or like more like what am I actually capable of doing, and then build onto that later, you know. And so we kind of talked about today. We talked about what's realistic, what's plausible, you know. But like for me, it's very clear that like to promote these types of things, for instance, like to do that, I need to be on YouTube more often. And so me and Mike have built a strategy. Like I tested out on my phone. Like what if I can film on my phone, right? Like even if it's like a low quality comparatively to like having like a nice DSLR or something like that, right? Reality is most of the people who follow me and listen to me, and I'm sure this is true for you, they don't really care if like I'm on like, you know, on some sort of like really like on a Tamagotchi or something, recording my my advice or feedback on something, you know. Ultimately, they just want to hear my thoughts on stuff, right?
Yep.
And if I could provide that, because I've gotten vindication of this because people on Instagram quite literally say like, oh, you should like make a video on this. You should like do more Instagram stories like this, you know? Like I did one where I made like an art prison where I was like, I can only leave the Starbucks until I've drawn this many drawings, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then people were like, oh, that was cool, you know? They messaged me directly like, oh, I never thought about that, or oh, that's a really good insight, you know? And because I talked about what I learned after the fact, right? And that was all through my phone, and I was just like, yeah, you know, this is more of just like myself thinking that I need it to be at this level for people to really care. But the reality is, no, it's really just a consistency thing I should stick to. And this is a philosophy that I also, you know, subscribe to my students, you know. I don't just say it to them because I think it's just a nice thing to say as a teacher. I just know it works. Sometimes I just forget to do it myself. And so I think anything that you guys can do, if I were to give some practical advice in terms of art, it would be like, like make sure that when you wake up, like you have like a sketchbook next to you and just say, you know what, I want to like sketch every morning, you know, just like a little quick sketch. And if you have it next to you and you just kind of like just try to do it, you'd be surprised like how once you start, like you'll kind of spend a good amount of time doing it. And you won't feel too bad because you know it's like the thing you should be doing versus like waking up and the first thing you do is check like your Instagram, right? And then see what people have said or whatever. Like that's great to know. That information is actually pretty valuable, but is it productive in the long term to do it like right away, especially, you know? And I'm with you, man. I'm all about that consistency. I'm all about like trying to find ways to be consistent, knowing your own bad habits and try to avoid them or try to like manage them. You know, I think these are all really good principles to have.
But that energy, that mentality doesn't just breathe into your career, but it's also into the way you draw, right? Like for instance, I'm trying desperately to focus on what you're saying, but I'm having too much fun looking at your painting that you're painting right now.
Whatever.
I'm looking at it. No, I'm enjoying it, but I'm looking at the way you paint, and you're not painting with the intention of being a perfectionist. You're painting, you're exploring, it's an organic process. It's like you're sculpting essentially, right? And you're moving things around and you're pushing and pulling and you're finding things in the mix. If you were sitting there waiting to make that perfect brushstroke, you'd never paint a damn thing, would you? Yeah. You'd end up sitting there waiting for that perfect moment for the stars to align to be able to execute something. And when it comes to, especially if you think in modern day, as far as social media and how people consume content online, yes, production value does make a difference, but it's not what makes the bigger difference. The bigger difference is the what and the how often. People consume content more frequently now. People aren't watching one show a week anymore. People are binge watching YouTube all day, every day. So being there for people, even if you're not sitting there painting a masterpiece every time, just being there, just producing something, creating a community, creating a place that other people can hang out in is what people are looking for more than, the best art online every day, all the time. You can't keep that up. And as artists, we work alone, right? So everything that we produce, everything that we upload, we have to edit it, shoot it, conceptualize it, publish it, all these different things. We have to do all these kinds of things alone. So if you're trying to create perfection all the time, you're not going to get far. And not only does that not work socially, but it also doesn't work algorithmically. YouTube does favor frequency. YouTube does, so does any social media platform. They favor people who are getting more people onto their platform, feeding the pack, right? Yeah, that's what they're looking for. Yeah.
I think to that point, like I think it is all about frequency for sure. It's quantity over quality these days, and I think like there are obviously exceptions, like, where someone has really good quality, like they post one video, in a month's time, and it just does really well because of the production value. But usually in those circumstances, like it's very obvious, like why that person deserves a lot of, attention. Yeah. Like we were just talking about like offline, me and Mike, about like the guy who did like the glitter Amazon packages. I'm sure you've heard of this, or at least if you haven't, you should check it out. So basically this guy like keeps getting his stuff stolen. And so he was just kind of like, all right, and he's like used to be like a NASA engineer. And so he's just like, I'm going to devise like a Amazon package that when it's open, it blows up glitter and everywhere. And it like has like fart smells and stuff. It's just like really disgusting. But it's like a lesson to the person, right? Like don't be jacking people. Yeah. Like I think he does those types of videos in like a month's time. And I think that video specifically, it was over a couple of months. Like he just made it his video of that month, Yeah. I think this is true. But regardless of it isn't, I just know he doesn't post very often. But it's like really high quality. And I think that's, like I said, there's a case to be said for that. But like,
Yeah.
I think in terms of art education, having a really long form video is valuable, but also just constantly being around is nice, because what you do is you remind people to kind of draw. Like whenever people listen to these podcasts or my videos, this is a continuous theme where then they draw. I'm sure many of the people listening right now, they're drawing or painting along with me. And I think about that. I'm like, ultimately, even if I'm just talking like I'm right now, it's like we're hanging out. And there's a lot of value in this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I just need to find ways to do this, to be more often. I'll be around more often.
Yeah.
And then provide like this kind of this habit forming like ability in like my YouTube channel, my Instagram, and ultimately when I build out my Patreon, my whole idea is to try to make it something that's just not me posting there and then leaving. I'm gonna, because we were really talking about this, and a lot of people were saying, you know, it'd be all right if you just built like your own personal website, but ultimately is like you said, what can I do to minimize my ability to show up, right? Or maximize my ability to show up and minimize what's preventing me from doing that.
Yeah.
And having a lot of stuff to manage, like having a whole website, robust website that works and functions the way that I like, that's the whole reason why the first two ventures didn't work out as well, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? I might just need to outsource this. And just so I can focus in on just making content and posting it onto, because Patreon is built like this, right? You can just post content and then just walk away. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, it's like a social network thing, but I'll just make it for my, like my patrons, right? And so I've been really thinking about what I can do for this and make it really effective, and essentially just replace a lot of what I already do and just make it my main hub of like helping people out and sharing content, as well as doing free stuff like on the YouTube, which will obviously be welcomed, as well as a great opportunity to demonstrate what's available on my Patreon, right? So it's like it's a really good win-win for everybody, because then if I ultimately can do this constantly and share my stuff often and feel no basically feel no pressure to kind of put my time elsewhere, that'd be great. And I did that in the past, and it worked out great. But I didn't use a Patreon or anything. I just had like my school, my tutorials, and I had like forums and stuff. And it was actually pretty good. It just was, the way that I built it was not like long term.
Okay,
you know? And so I felt like overworked, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to avoid this specific problem. But going back to this whole point of like, how can I achieve that dream of just being there, you know? And also having it, you know, finance my abilities to be there, you know, and have it be genuine. That everybody involved is like, yeah, this is good. This makes sense, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's two things that play into that. What just you said something before that really resonated with me, and that's who your audience is. And artists are a unique audience that more than anything, we're very often looking for companionship. We're looking for somebody to paint with, right? Because we're loners. Just listening to other artists talk, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't always matter exactly what it is you're talking about. Just having that kind of company and having something that keeps you in that thoughtful, creative, artistic ecosystem, just like being in a school where there's a bunch of other artists around you. And I remember when I first started posting my art talks, the general art talks where I'm doing paint overs and stuff like that. At first, people were saying, damn, man, your videos are too long. They're 45 minutes. What the hell? This is ridiculous. Because people are used to, 5 to 10 minute videos. Yeah. And I thought I tried for a little while to edit the crap out of myself to make these 10, 12 minute videos. And then I realized something. I said, screw what these people think. Yeah. My audience are artists. I'm not making this for YouTube in general. This is an art community. And as an art community, one of the things I advocate for is don't go on YouTube because when you're on YouTube, you're constantly searching for content that keeps pulling your eyes away from what you're working on, right? So what I wanted to do, I
All
decided.
right, guys, everybody, stop
my
watching.
videos-
Get out of here. Get off
Get
YouTube.
outta here.
Wait, I'm not finished. Wait,
Okay.
I'm not finished.
Yeah, sorry
everybody,
to interrupt.
everybody quits the
Sorry,
channel.
Adam.
Yeah, they were putting- but I wanted to produce videos that people could paint to. It's not just
Yeah.
me sharing my thoughts, but bring the tempo down, make things calmer. I'm not trying to
That's
stimulate
great. That's a
people.
good
I'm
idea.
trying to meditate people. I'm trying to get people into more of a painting mood. So longer, calmer, relaxed. And I felt more comfortable doing content like that. I didn't feel like I was trying to be a salesman all the time with my videos.
Yeah.
And people appreciated that. It's something you can, like that video or Let Me Know, these two YouTubers I listen to all the time when I'm painting. It's very calming. It's in the background. You can listen to it all day and not get tired of it. And that's the kind of energy I try to bring into my videos as well. And for artists, they love it. And I have other friends of mine who are in salsa dancing or in tech reviews and stuff like that. And they're asking me, like, how do you do what you do? And I can't share that expertise with them because artists are a unique audience, and I'm really focusing just on them.
Yeah.
I don't care. When I post tech reviews, I have tech reviews. I did my Rode mics or my lighting and shit. I know for a fact nobody gives a crap. I'm doing it I do it as a public service, but I look back at my videos 6 months later, I'm like, wow, it got 40 views. Look at that. Nobody cares. Because that's not what people are there to see me for. People are there for art, and you have to understand that when you want to share with a community, you really have to develop yourself around that community's needs. It's not just about creating the content you want. It's also what are you offering other people? What value is in there for everybody else?
Yeah.
And that's really the focus you need to have, right?
I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. Yeah, I can hear myself again. What are you doing, dude? You gotta turn me down, giving me anxieties. So, sorry, I lost my thought. Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, in fact, me and Mike had a meeting right before the stream, and one of the things we were talking about was very much what you just said. Okay, what is this content for? And this is something I always. I teach people. Like, I have a really good friend. Let me finish my point, and I'll talk about my friend and his confusion about his followers and stuff. Like, he didn't understand why something that he tried to do didn't work. I'll explain. But my point is that, like, content that I think you and I probably both fall into is the category of, yes, like, kind of just hanging out. This type of stream or this type of video is more along the lines of putting you in the mood of, like, getting some work done. If you listen to some like cooking show, it might you want to cook, right?
Yeah.
But if you watch like a competitive cooking show, right? Like, okay, sorry, if you watch like Master Chef, it may want to cook or something, or you watch somebody do instructional, it makes you want to like do it. But if you're watching like Hell's Kitchen, it doesn't make you want to cook, right? It makes you want to like see if Gordon Ramsay's gonna like
wants to
murder
take
somebody.
Medication.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so there's even though they're both subject wise, like they're in the kind of same genre of subjects, like cooking and food. Right? They could both exist on the same channel, like food channel. They're not the same kind of genre in terms of content, and people are going to watch this content differently.
Yeah,
and I think if you know where you belong, it's going to be easier. For instance, like I have upwards of like 134,000 followers on Instagram, and so you would think that when I shared on my Instagram that my YouTube would have thousands of people right away, right? Because I shared it there. But if you look at my concurrent users at the moment is about 150, right?
Okay.
So where are the other hundreds of thousands of people? And so there's a couple of variables here. One, time. Some people might still be asleep and they have no idea, so they'll watch it later, right? It's on YouTube, it's available. Some people are just not interested. They just generally just like follow me because they like my art, not because they want to learn how to be an artist. Not they themselves are not artists. Maybe they're just like, nah, this is cool. It's a false expectation to assume that everybody that follows you or listens to you or whatever is into the very thing. That's why you have to kind of put like this buffer of like for every 10,000 people, you might have one person that wants to learn how to become a better artist. And then out of all those people,
I'm going to cut you off there for a sec because I don't know if you've heard the same thing, but I heard that when you try to cross-platform through the different social media, I know they did this with Facebook at a certain point, where if you post, let's say, come join me on YouTube on Facebook, Facebook will make a point of blocking that content. Is that possible?
No, that's definitely a thing. Yeah, no, that's true too.
Eh? Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables in play, but for sure, you know, even if I just posted no link, it still would be limited. You know, I just know, like, if I just did, like, I'll do a test and I'll show it to you guys too. Like, I'll just stream on Instagram, like, directly. Let's say I won't do a YouTube thing, whatever, and it'll still be the same. I'll be surprised if it gets beyond 200 people. You know what I mean?
So it doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, you should try it yourself. You'll be like, okay, there is like some teeth to what I'm saying, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and this is very important, because if you do this, then you're going to think more intelligently, right? So for instance, like if you want to get like those large numbers of views, then you're going to have to create content that doesn't just speak to artists. You have to speak to everybody, right? This is why I'm not going to do those like crazy like challenges, you know, like eating hot wings and then try to do a painting or something. You know, it's not conducive to what I actually want to do. And there's a real chance that it will do really well. And if it does really well, then have I set myself up?
Keep that shit up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, obviously I don't have to, but if I want to keep that momentum, then yeah, obviously I have to, right? And so it's like, so why did I even put that content there, you know, if I didn't want to just share it with people to get more views, right? So obviously I don't care for that, so I'm not going to do that. I don't want to put myself through that pain for no reason, you know? Yeah, maybe absolutely. If I'm hanging out with friends and we're doing it privately, or if I were doing it privately, but then I just decided to record it because it's just more of a funny thing to see, I think that's fine, you know? Yeah. But in the context of like, I'm going out of my way to make this... Organic. Yeah, if I'm going out of my way to make this content to try to get pushing views, and it's gonna attract the wrong kind of audience that will, what I like to think of, distort my numbers.
Yeah.
Right. So for instance, my Instagram is pretty reliable because I haven't done much to it to get false followers. Like I'm certain most people that follow me on my Instagram are genuine. That they're there because they care about my content or they want to learn about how to do it. That
really matters a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I don't have like millions and millions of followers, but I know like a good portion of my followers are really there for me.
They're genuine.
And that's really important.
That matters in the long run a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I explained this to my buddy. So talking to my friend, you know, because he had like lots and lots of followers, right? But he's building them through the wrong means. Like he was doing the kind of things that I was saying you should not do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, but just don't be blindsided when nobody cares about other stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that's what he felt super blindsided. He didn't understand why nobody wanted to like get his thing that he wanted. And I was like, well, because you built your audience off of this other thing that has nothing to do with art, you know?
Yeah.
And so most of the people that are there, they're not going to all of a sudden be converted to art enthusiasts, you know? And so it's like, I said, you've messed up your numbers, you know?
Yeah.
And I encouraged him. I said, you know what you should do is you should start like a new channel or a new page, whatever, right? And just post only that content, the art stuff, right?
Yep.
And you're going to have very few followers. It's going to be remarkably lower. But as you get more and more, you're going to know every single one of those people is there because they care about your content. And I think my YouTube is at that level too, and I think your YouTube is very much at that place too, right?
Very much. And I had to. It's a slow burn. It's slowly. It's a slow growth at the beginning, but I know that I can commit long term to everything that I post online, and it's important to do that. And what you become popular for ends up becoming what you're bound to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching a lot of. I watch a lot of photography and videography YouTubers and stuff like that. And there's some YouTubers that I've been following for years, and they did a complete 180 with their content at one point. It really kicked off. Like there's this one guy I love. His name's Gerald Undone. He does video, lens, camera, audio equipment stuff.
Cool.
And he used to do kind of these parody, joke, silly videos where he didn't take himself too seriously. And then at one point, people really started to catch on to the fact that he knew a lot about camera gear. He really acquired a lot of skill over the years after doing a lot of his own personal reviews. And then he decided at one point to do this total 180 personality wise and became a very, very serious, very technical tech YouTuber.
Uh-huh.
And he's completely kicked off. And if you look, he had to even alter his personality a little, really cut those jokes down a little bit so people took him a little bit more seriously, and really get into specs, into technicality, so that people took him seriously. Because as long as he kept trying to be the Joker self he is, it worked against him. Now you take one of his good friends who also lives in Toronto. He's another camera YouTuber, but he's a Joker. He's kind of a PewDiePie type of guy who's very low budget, shitty camera quality, funny parody videos. But because he's considered a quote comedy channel, he's growing in popularity due to his jokes.
Yes.
So you have to be aware of what kind of an audience you're cultivating, because that is going to be your obligation if you continue forward. And if you're not willing to do that, what you're basically saying is there's a stopwatch about to go off on your channel and it's about to die. Because as soon as you decide to change your brand, people are going to go, okay, I guess he stopped making that content, and they leave.
Yeah,
right?
This happens to artists in general with their art too. So where I'm known for the thing that you see me paint right now, right? You see me painting this thing like monsters, robots, kind of like realistic black and white kind of imagery of characters and creatures, you know? This is kind of what I'm known for. And so when I deviate, like I've been practicing doing comic book art and stuff like this, not everybody like immediately would be like, oh yeah, I'm into that. Or whenever I do 3D or whatever, like, and this is another thing that I know happens. And I think a lot of artists, especially this is more of like a symptom of those who already established themselves. They get kind of like bent out of shape that nobody like cares about their new journeys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's the same thing, right? Like it's like sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But don't be shocked that your following of people who follow you because you do a lot of cute cupcake art decide to draw like Witcher 2 or Witcher like TV show fan art that's like really monstrous and realistic, that they're going to be like, what the, they're going to be shocked and people might not be into it. And a good example of this of a traditional artist is like Sargent. So Sargent is known for most of his like realistic portraits of people and stuff like this. I went to the museum in New York, and the Met, which was a super dope museum, is my favorite one I've ever been to. Yeah. And sure enough, it was like I was looking through all his artwork, and my favorite ones were there, and I was like, oh my god, it's so beautiful to see it in real life. Yeah. And then there was some there that were just like, I've never seen this ever in my life. Yeah. And it in comparison, in my opinion, it felt like, and this is really important, in comparison, it felt like hot garbage compared to his older work. But I looked at the time difference. I'm looking at it. I'm looking to see if I can find some of his older work right now on Google. Maybe I should put the date. That might help. Let me put it in.
He was 8 when he painted it,
No,
I don't know if that counts.
Okay, this is more helpful. Some of this is not hot garbage, but some of it is. So I'm going to post it. You won't be able to see it until the delay later, so just assume you're looking at it real time. Yep. Oh yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. So this is pretty standard what people would expect to see from Sargent, right? This is like the first Google searches. This is what you would expect. But then if you type in like just put 1907, and then a year after that, I think there's one in like 1911. So this image right here, even like, or this one right here, I don't know if that's his, but it's like, well, that's kind of the point. Like the fact that I'm not even sure that's his, because it's so different. But like this is like within a 10-year span, and I was like, oh man, I can relate. Like I can relate to this like old like artist. Like he might have been doing that portrait style for so long, he was just kind of over it, And he started doing these like crazy, really colorful, very flat feeling landscape images. Yeah. And maybe because in his mind he was like, I'm challenging the conventional way of painting and I'm going to explore this new way of doing it. But you might make and produce hot garbage comparatively, And I think that's what people might need to recognize. And he might, I don't know, I didn't read into the history of what and how he felt about this later stage of his career. Yeah. But I can sense that he might have been a little bit I could predict that he might have been a little bit bent out of shape if people weren't into it as much, because I call this like the artist bias, and it's the bias that you have as an artist because it's how you feel, right? It's what you felt when you were making the artwork. It's what you felt about artwork in general. It distorts the reality of what you actually did, Yeah,
it's true.
And so I think a lot of times whenever people are working and they try something new and no one enjoys it, you shouldn't necessarily look at that as like, oh my gosh, like, why are these people not getting it? Like, does nobody like my work anymore? Like, start taking it really personal.
Yeah.
You should just look at it as what it is. Maybe there's no there's no appeal to this to the audience that I have at the moment. And if I really love this, like what I'm doing now, then I have to start building my audience to either love this or start to build my audience to be more broader, and respect either or just abandon it altogether if you don't really care for it. You're like, I just tried it and it's not working. I don't really care. I'll go back to.
I've got tons of stuff like that. It's what I named it after what the Polish artist Beksiński he called it his bin. He would work on 3 or 4 paintings at the same time, and he would flip back and forth between them, and some would go into the bin, and usually they stayed there. It's kind of like just a garbage bin where he'd stick a bunch of canvases he didn't go anywhere with, and other ones he would revisit. And the benefit of doing that when you're working is, like you mentioned, you might not even know what's good about your artwork. You might have been in a certain headspace where you're kind of looking at a certain artist or trying to emulate a certain style or trying to achieve something, and you're focused on that. So you devalue the fact that you didn't achieve that. When in fact, from a different perspective, I look back at some of my old work that I thought was complete hot garbage years ago, and I look at it and go, that actually had some kind of potential to it that I didn't even see 10 years ago.
You were so focused on like the process of it, and when you were creating it, you had a different mind frame. Exactly.
There's a certain creativity in that I ended up saying, hey, what if I do that today with a little bit more training in me? What can I make of that today? And I very often helped to fuel my growth as well, for sure.
No, that's actually good insight. I do this as well. I just never thought about articulating it the way you did. That's exactly right. Like, I have a lot of artwork that's online, and sometimes I'll like incidentally just see an old artwork. Yeah. Sometimes it usually happens whenever I'm teaching and I'm like talking about it. It's like, I used to do this painting a long time ago, and I look for it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is not half bad. I thought about like how I did that painting. I was like, oh man, I haven't painted like this in a long time. And then it's like, and I can see why people enjoyed this painting. I'm looking at it like more objectively, Yeah. I'm not in the moment of the painting anymore. And this kind of goes to the point, a compliment that you made towards me earlier, which was that like this kind of like free spirit painting. I'm just trying to discovering my painting. A lot of that has evolved from this principled idea that I realized that most of the time I myself might not even know what my artwork is. Right? Like,
that's so true.
Objectively, right? Like, I may like one artwork more than the other for personal reasons, like my opinion. But if I were to base it off of like objective reality of like what makes a good piece of artwork, it'll take time for me to really see that. But usually audiences or my fans will be able to tell me indirectly. They usually will do so by either liking an image or commenting more frequently. So for instance, I did these like astronaut paintings recently on my Instagram. And this is just, again, me trying to discover a comic book style that I like, that feels unique to me, and also makes it allow me to like tell a story rapidly, And a lot of people reacted well to a lot of different images that I've done that have explored this. But this one, like, people really are responding very well. And in fact, like, a lot of people messaged me even directly. They're like, dude, what the, And
I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah, and so this means that there's some teeth to this image.
Yeah.
I feel the same about that image as I do about this image I'm doing right now. There's no real difference in terms of how I feel. Even like some of the other images you'll see there, like if you go to my Instagram, you'll see like some flat comic book style, like a red.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. It looks very Metal Gear Solid style.
Yeah, it's very graphic. I like that one too. Like to me, I'm like, all this is good, and I don't rely on my opinion to really tell me if it's good. I rely on my fans. I trust my fans know what's best.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've built an authentic following, so I know that they're not going to like lead me astray. And I'm making artwork that I already like. It doesn't really matter. But now I'm like, okay, well, these people really like this, so maybe I should try to do more of this. So even this image right here is emulating like this kind of process, but now in Photoshop, because I did those in Infinite Painter. Oh, and that reminds me, Sean, the developer, wanted me to tell you directly that he really is thankful for you doing the video review. He said it really helped out a lot, and he said it was very valuable to him.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Adam.
Infinite Painter.
Cool,
Infinite Painter.
Cool.
Yeah, the guy his name is Sean, and he wanted me to directly tell you that.
Oh, yeah, but the honor's mine, man. I'm so completely smitten by that, and I posted that video because I was so amazed how many other apps. I know it has everything to do with marketing, right? How many other apps got so much attention? I'm sitting there going, this app is an absolute masterpiece in terms of design and functionality. It was the most addictive thing I've ever played with. And for me, I don't paint a whole lot on my iPad, but I'm sitting there going, wow, this is kind of the app I always wanted. So much to the point where I didn't even need a keyboard, so much that I didn't even need to work in Photoshop. I could just jump right in it and have fun.
Yes.
So I made the video about it, and it really seemed to resonate with a lot of people. And I'm glad it did, because I thought thankfully I wasn't just shouting into the void, but no, it was a very exciting app. I really liked it.
I think the next stream that I do, I'll do it exclusively on the iPad.
Damn. They're gonna have to start tweeting.
I'll do it because I actually have a setup where we can see my desk and what I'm doing there. I actually have it all ready and set up. I just got to start doing it.
Right.
I did a painting on my phone using Infinite Painter, and it's pretty good. It was so good, man. I got this Stedler digital pencil. You probably have to. Here, let me see if I can go full screen so I can kind of put it right in people's face. Put it right in people's faces. All right, here we go.
I think there's like a 2-minute delay with the.
You're gonna just have to be like, ooh, ah. Let me see if it focuses. Okay, there you go.
I'm gonna say that like halfway through another sentence. You will have changed subjects by then. By the way, can I mention something about your astronaut paintings?
Hold on.
I have to say this because
there you go.
I'm looking at these astronaut paintings and I'm thinking to myself, you know what this makes me think of? Surrealism. I've been really getting into a lot of surrealist artists recently, and this really screams surrealism, like a lot. I'm really, I can see why this is resonating so much with a lot of your fans, because, wow, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I think a lot of artwork that I like from people like Rich Anderson. He goes by Flat Traps, Richard. He's he paints like this very much. He's a little bit way more abstract, and he has really strong compositions. So I was looking at his stuff because I'm trying to develop like a comic book style. And I was like, this guy's really good. I love Sean Gordon Murphy. I just got a book. I was reading through a book of his.
Yeah, let me check it out.
The White Knight. It's where
I got that one.
Yeah, it's such a good one. It's such a good story too. It's well told, and he's one of my favorite comic book artists. Jock is another really good comic book artist that I lean towards. I like people like Ashley Woods, but Ashley Woods and my buddy Flat Traps, like they go really aggressive with this kind of abstraction. Jama, my buddy Jama, is also like this. He's a little bit more cinematic, I think, but like. My thought is like, okay, well, what if I can kind of meet somewhere in between, somewhere like closer to like Phil Hale, he has this kind of aesthetic, and then there's another artist that I really like named Jeremy Geddes. So I'm looking at all these stuff, and I'm just trying to like find a spot, that really is my favorite part of all these artists I just mentioned, but then also something that will eventually evolve to look different than all of them because all these people have a difference in style. That if I were to somehow mash them together into my own style, that would be dope. And I can have something pretty much...
I could see this work with your style quite nicely. Well, just what you pulled off on Instagram is really... It shows that it's definitely something that resonates with you and something that's compatible with what you already do.
Yeah.
So evolving that into your style, I can see that a lot.
Yeah, and...
That's really exciting.
Yeah, and to that fact, like both of those paintings were done in Infinite Painter with confidence. Like I didn't feel like
Really?
I think each of those took like 25 minutes to paint. It didn't take
25
long.
minutes. Damn it, I hate it. I hate you for saying that. Like,
You're like,
how long did it take you? 4 minutes. I'm like, you know what?
yeah. Well, you got to remember, I am the world speed painting champion. This is like,
This is now a
And I'm the
fact.
world's
This is a fact.
slow painting champion.
he just went on.
We got the whole spectrum.
Yeah, you went on the record of saying like, I like to just paint for 17 hours. Yeah, like we have you on record, so it's all good. Man. Like no, I like to paint in long session only if I'm hanging out with people or I have to, like it's work, right?
Yeah.
If I don't, like all my personal work, if I draw by myself for more than half an hour, usually it's because I'm studying, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's different because I'm not drawing when drawing. I'm drawing usually dozens and dozens of drawings over the span of an hour or two, you know? It's more of like research and development, and it feels different. Like every drawing is a new piece of information, and so I just got to do a lot of them, and I don't leave until I'm done, until I've learned something of value. You know, at least that's kind of my approach. But if I'm doing something that I'm like, all right, I'm just going to paint because I need to post something on the internet, you know, and just kind of get my mileage in, just in general. Yeah, I'll spend like no more than an hour. Like hour is like a long time for me. And
You said something in one of your Gumroads that really resonated with me. I find, just to promote your stuff and get you some cash if I can, I have a lot of your Gumroads. Every now and then there's this little gem that it's kind of like this little, I have a lot of eureka moments watching your Gumroads. And one in particular that really resonated with me was if you don't know if you're on the right track in the first max 5 minutes of your painting, chances are you either need to start over or change something significant about it. And that stuck with me. It stuck in my head, and I thought to myself, it's true. We can spend so much time fiddling with something. We can spend hours fiddling with something, and if you look at the big picture, it's not working. And what very often ends up happening is you beat it into submission eventually, and you're moderately content with it, or you decide to scrap it and you start over. And when you start over, you pull it off in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Where otherwise you spent 3 days trying to mold this piece of crap into something worthwhile. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the reason behind why this happens, why you end up all of a sudden pulling it through after scrapping it and starting over, is because whatever you did before isn't like gone, right? Like mentally you still painted that thing. So you're still in this mindset of what you did wrong or what was your challenges. You're just starting over to kind of fix the macro problems, right?
Yeah.
Because if for instance, like if I was like looking at this painting again, there's a delay for you, but if I decided, oh man, like I need like a bigger horns on this guy and I want him to have his arms folded, like I have to like make a dramatic change. I have to like repaint all this stuff. You know, like if I realize that's actually a better idea, or I should have done that from the beginning. You know? Yeah.
Yep.
And one will be faster than the other, and I just have to decide which is which, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, I learned this the hard way. I think I might have talked about it in the video. And in the video, if I didn't, I'll explain it now, which is that like I had work, and then I left for lunch, and I saved my work and my sketch, because I usually sketch too while I work. Yeah. And like just for myself. And then when I came back, I opened up my work, and it was my sketch. And I realized what had happened was I saved over my work on accident. With my sketch. And I remember sitting there completely upset for like 10, 15 minutes. I remember at the studio just like looking at my monitor. I think my coworkers thought I was going crazy. And I went on the internet, scoured, looking for any kind of backup solution, you know? Like, what if you're a dummy and you accidentally save over? Is there like some sort of, you know, reversal of time, like time machine thing that's in Photoshop? And at the time there was not, right? There was no autosave functions at the time.
Sorry, Anthony, just one quick sec. I'm getting a call from the city, just making sure it's not for my kids. Just 1 sec.
Oh yeah. Yeah, go ahead. I'll keep talking though. Just take your call.
Hold on real quick. I finally have a chance. Jesus Conde sent €2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, thanks, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. Appreciate you. Appreciate the support.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout him out for that.
Oh, that's sweet. I don't know how often I get those. I don't
Not
think
very
often.
often.
Yeah, not often at all. So very, very much appreciate that. That was very sweet of you. Yeah, maybe if you can get his contact information, I'll send
He's one of
him.
your students. We had class with him, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, then I'll
He was
send
a
you this
badass.
I'll send you this PSD directly, my man. You just bought yourself this PSD. Just message us on our contacts information, and then we'll get it to you, man. So you can look at it high res. You can look at all the deets. Zoom in on this pixel right
Yeah.
here. Zoom in on
And then
this
if you,
one pixel.
If you don't have to do this now, but if you make me an admin on this server, I can add screen sharing, so that next time Adam and I can see what's happening in real time
On what?
on
YouTube?
Discord.
Oh, Discord.
Discord. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is a thing. Yeah, next time we should
Mhm.
do that. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. You're a smart man with smart ideas.
Just a quick note. My little lady called me at the library waiting for me, but I told her I pick her up around 4:10. So that gives
Okay.
me about
Well, you know
30
what?
minutes, 35 minutes roughly.
We should be wrapping up anyways pretty soon. I have to feed my
Okay.
children as well. So we'll just like kind of end it on this point of like, I think generally what we're saying to people, I just want to reconfirm is that like, the consistency is very important.
Yeah.
Sticking to what you think you want to do, like think long term. Don't just do things that are popular.
Yeah.
Because popular things are popular for a reason, but you don't want to be known as the hot wing artist challenge. I think there was even like this one YouTuber. All she did was like cook while she was drunk. She clearly had to stop doing that, real quick.
How long did she keep that up before she
She
ended
did
up
it for a
getting
while, but obviously she's like, I gotta change it. I don't know what she's up to these days.
Yeah.
And then you even mentioned
Probably
PewDiePie.
rehab. That's my guess.
Yeah, and even PewDiePie himself, like I think he's taking a break at the
An
moment.
indefinite break. Yes, that's quite a big move for a guy like him who's posted daily for how many years now? That's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it's that long. I mean, it's a long time for like a YouTuber, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, like what is it like? Let's say he did it for 10 years. That's still not a long time. If he like lives the rest of his days and he lives to like 80 or 90, there'll only be like a tenth of his life. And there's a good argument to be made that he might have lived within a modest means, made enough money to like live the rest of his life not having to work at all ever again. Like he doesn't have to chase wealth, right? Like he could just live in his nice little house with his wife and just have a nice little life, and that's endearing.
Well, he hasn't blown all of his budget on camera gear. You know that much.
this is true facts. Yeah, even my camera that I have is not that expensive. I think it's like a $400, $500 camera. Like I could have bought one of those thousands of dollars ones with the lens.
Lighting is far more important than cameras, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, but even the lighting that I got, it's just a lamp. I just got like a white light, and then I got one of those umbrella lamps, and that's it. But I got that actually for my wife, and then she hasn't used it yet, so I just like set it up for myself just today.
That's all you need. That's all. Before I got into blew all my money on camera. I was shooting. Well, I started with my webcam with no lighting whatsoever. ISO was my lighting, essentially. And from there, I ended up using one of those. I went to the hardware store and I got one of those industrial lamps you clamp onto a
onto
the thing.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
The CRI
actually,
on that was 8. That's a lighting joke right there. But it's very shitty light quality.
Uh-huh.
And then I ended up just slowly but surely started upgrading to better and better lighting and stuff. What I realized was you can get a really cheap like Panasonic camera and shoot in 1080p, but if your lighting is good, you're all set. You just have to get one good quality light, and that's all you need. Something. It doesn't need LEDs now. They sell them for nothing, but just aim to get a good quality white light, and that's it. And your videos will look totally pro.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good place to now take it to questions. Let's do it.
Cool.
Yep,
So,
let's do it. All right.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. I think I was interrupting you.
Oh, I was just gonna start reading them. Is you good?
Yeah.
Or me, for that matter.
Yeah,
Has
for
anybody ever
anybody.
seen me or Anthony without our cap? Yeah.
All right. So we got JB Comics asking, was curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the passing of Syd Mead. Personally,
yeah,
I can't
sure.
get enough
On the
of
what?
talking about Syd's work and his influence.
Syd Mead.
Syd Mead passed away.
Syd Mead.
Yeah. Do you know about this? Do you know of Syd Mead?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, how could
Yeah.
you not know him?
Some people don't. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. So for those of you who
He just
don't
passed
know,
away. Yeah.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, just type in Syd Mead. You can put it in the chat for them so they know how to spell it.
Yeah, sure.
It's with a Y, and
Yeah.
then SYD, and then Mead, the way you would spell mead,
Like the beverage.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, so first of all, let's just talk about like a little bit of his legacy. He was an artist since he's like one of like the original OG concept artists when there was
Mm-hmm.
not even a term for that really, and he was very old. He was like I think he's in his 80s now, and yeah, he kind of pioneered a lot of the kind of early visual effects
Yeah.
and visuals for a lot of sci-fi, specifically like sci-fi
Yeah.
films, and a lot of that obviously inspired what came after, right? And he was one of the big ones. I think he came from like industrial design background,
Yeah.
and he was just a really great draftsman. Like if you look at it, like there's a lot of really good classical artists in our concept art artists that are worked in films and stuff like this. He is by far one of the best, if not the
Yeah.
best, in my opinion. And he passed away. And so, I mean, it's sad. My thoughts on it is that, he lived a pretty good, long life. I'm not sure of the details of it, but from an outsider's point of view, he lived a good one, He had a solid run. He's definitely going to leave a legacy behind him, And everyone that I know respects and loved his work. I am one of them. Some of my favorite paintings are from Syd Mead. In fact,
Yeah.
before he passed, Elon Musk announced the Cybertruck, and I remember I was debating somebody about the design of it, and I
Yeah.
showed them Syd Mead concepts. I was like, "This is what I want the future to look like,"
Yeah.
and she was just like, "Oh yeah, that is kind of badass," and I was like, "Yeah, man." It's like we can push the idea of the conventional car in this direction. That could be great.
Yeah.
I don't care about the ramifications of it being so efficient, or whatever. Like if you are focused on design, like this is a great way to think. And he's one of those people. And he worked on some of the best visuals and some of the best movies. And so my thoughts are like that pretty much. And I feel for his family and the people that are really close to him. They're obviously going to miss him. But it's the same. It's the same how I felt about like when Frazetta passed. It was the same way.
Yeah.
Like, well, legend. I
Yeah.
only am sad that I didn't get to meet.
Impact. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to meet him. Is what I'm really sad about.
Yeah.
And that's more of a selfish thing on my part. It has nothing to do with him. It would have not necessarily bring any value to his life if I met him, but would have brought a lot of value to mine. But yeah, of course, yeah. Maybe I'll do a tribute to him, do a painting. I just felt like there's already so many people that did such a better job tributing to him. I just kind of didn't want to like jump on that bandwagon and be like, all right, watch me now, because it's not. I don't think that's important, and I don't even think some of those people were seeking that attention either. It just felt not like a good time to do it because everybody was doing it, and I was like, let everybody have this moment and just kind of let's just focus on this tragedy and just think about it. But maybe now it's a good time to do it again. That makes sense to me, like to do something. Because I did love his work. So, what do you think?
Absolutely.
All right.
Not only that, but one of the things that people take for granted, like you look at somebody or you look at somebody like Syd Mead, and you look at the work, and it's beautiful. Absolutely, it's very traditional. It's very beautiful. It's very familiar, right? Very technically powerful work, but very familiar in a sense. And you can take an artist like Syd Mead for granted, same way you can take an artist like Monet or Degas or Renoir for granted, because it's a lot of people that do stuff like that. But what you don't realize, what you have to sit back and realize when you're looking at somebody like Syd Mead's work or Frazetta's work or the Impressionists, were that they were some of the original pioneers. They
Yes.
created this. It's the same way Tolkien created Middle Earth, that we all now consider. Everybody knows about elves and dwarves and all that kind of stuff. And he was one of these pioneers. He's the one who made it a mainstream thing before anybody else gave it any value. And that's what you need to realize. Modern design wouldn't exist today in the same fashion that it does if it wasn't for this individual and what he contributed. So
This is true facts.
Yeah, you've got to. It's he deserves a ton of respect for what he's accomplished.
I concur.
Yeah.
Well put. I agree with
All right.
this.
So we don't have too much time left. Let's try to rapid fire these a little
Sure.
bit more. It's mostly for Anthony. You're fine, Adam.
How dare you?
Yeah. Anyway,
How dare you
Nobody
know
wants
me?
to know my opinion, eh? Screw you too.
okay. So I'm just gonna read the questions. Some of these are directed towards you, AJ. Try to keep it pretty brief. May I ask if your course for illustration costs $500 for 1 month of classes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it short
Go
and
to
sweet.
robotpencil.net and you can find more information on that.
Yeah,
Just
like,
you can email
the cliff notes of my mentorship is that we meet twice a week for about 3 hours each day for the whole month for about 4 weeks of time, and I review your work, paint over it, and talk to you directly and help you directly along with other students who are in the class.
All right, great. Film Fanatic says, what do you think about the digitality of brushstrokes and how to avoid them? I'm talking about repeating patterns and strokes of brushes. If a brush has non-circle shapes, it looks artificial.
Um,
I think you can both tackle that.
yeah. So, actually, I'll let Adam start with this if he has some thoughts.
So is the question how to not make digital painting look digital? Is that the
I
question?
think so. Yeah.
They're talking about like having a brushstroke with repeating textures, I think, but however you want to interpret
Oh,
it.
you mean like stamp tool type of repeating texture things? Well, it depends on your particular style. Some people. Here's my advice. If you want to make something look painterly, make it look painterly. If you want to make something look digital, be unapologetically digital. Make it look like you did it. And there's a lot of artists that do that,
Mm-hmm.
that will really make their artwork look digital because this is who I am and that's what I do, and it's beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, Rich
If you're
Anderson
trying to
is an
make-
example. The guy I mentioned earlier. I'll show this person's work while we're
Yeah,
talking.
absolutely. And for me, when it comes to painting, it's about when it comes to digital painting, I find what very often makes things look too digital is that you're trying to be too perfect. You need to overlap your brush strokes. You need to work a little bit more loosely. Get a little bit, play around with different types of brushes. Marco Bucci has a very good video. He has one of his tutorials he sells online on his channel, is called Digital Brushwork or something like that, where he talks about mixing different brushes together to create a very painterly effect as well. So it's about loosening up very often. Look, watch Anthony Jones. Like, just watch the way he's doing this painting right now. Notice how he doesn't render the snot out of what he does. He keeps those overlapping brush strokes there to keep a looseness and a tooth in his surfaces. And that's very often what makes a big difference. Higher quality brushes matter too. Like you want to get higher res brushes very often, although that's not always necessary. But getting a brush that has a little bit more quality to it can definitely make a difference. That would be my contribution to that for sure.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this. If you want something to look painterly, ultimately you have to know how to paint. And if you don't know how to paint, your stuff's going to always feel digital. And if you do know how to paint and then you still have this problem, it's just usually the brushes that you're using. You haven't found that one that kind of sings like. But I think this problem is going to be gone because Procreate and Infinite Painter have like incredible brush engines that actually it's kind of incredible. Like they feel like you're painting with like a real thing. So I think this is like an old. Yeah, I think this is an old. This is gonna be an old issue to worry about. Eventually, you'll have like a straight up, like even Adobe Fresco has like an oil, like brush, and it acts and behaves like oils, and so
the watercolor brush is insane.
Yeah, so it's only a matter of time. But like I mentioned earlier, the thing that won't change is if you don't know how to paint. If you don't know how to paint, it won't matter if the brushes actually can paint like a real paintbrush. So
All right. So that kind of leans into this next question. Draw House asks,
my number one fan.
Who is the best, Infinite Painter or Procreate?
I like Infinite Painter the best. It goes in this order: Infinite Painter, Procreate, and Adobe Fresco. In terms of the digital painting stuff on the iPads or mobile devices, rather.
Yeah,
But
I'd
that's
say
my order.
for raw, straight ahead iPad app, Infinite Painter is personally my favorite too, just in terms of the brushes and UI design and all that kind of stuff. It's really clean. Art Studio Pro is the one I use when I want to take a Photoshop file and bring it onto the iPad. And Procreate, I'll tell you something. Procreate's a very powerful app, but I really have personal chip on my shoulder about the brush engine because
Sure.
it procreates their brushes a lot, and I'm not a fan of the way they feel. To me, it's like your instrument is your work, and when the instrument doesn't work nice, doesn't work the way you like it, I'm not a big fan. So
No, I get that.
those would be my two tops for sure.
A lot of people feel this way.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
Mm.
professionals that I know, but some don't. Some love it, you know. And I would
yeah,
say, in order, that's the order. And I actually like how Infinite Painter feels on the Wacom One, right?
Oh, really?
Because it actually feels like what I'm used to, which is the Wacom products,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Like there's a
yeah,
little bit of like there's a little bit of like I have to change the brushes and like I have to change my behavior of how I paint when
uh-huh,
I'm on the iPad because
yeah, yeah,
there is a difference.
yeah,
But when I got the Wacom One, like they sent me one and I tried it and I plugged it into my phone and I started painting and I was like, what the? This is
yeah,
like this is amazing.
yeah.
And then I started thinking, oh my god, if I plug a keyboard in here, like I might ultimately have a genuine new like laptop, right?
Yeah,
With my phone.
yeah.
I just got to bring this tablet with me.
You
And
just need one good app to make it worthwhile. You can have
well,
50 apps that kind of sort of don't do the job as well as Photoshop does, and you're like,
yeah.
eh. But when you
Well,
get one that works well, it validates owning an iPad, in my
yeah,
opinion.
exactly. And here's another thing too is um like it's so powerful my phone that it can even run this like it's it is the desktop version of Infinite Painter. It feels like it.
The one on the phone is?
Yeah, except the fact that I don't have customization with the keyboard and there's no touch to the screen.
Yeah.
But if you give me touch on the screen, and this is to you, Wacom, I know they're trying to like save that monies, but I don't know how much more it would cost to make this. And Sean already mentioned this to me, customization within the keyboard hotkeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like a genuine like desktop app then, right? I still
Yeah.
prefer using the iPad because I have the touchscreen capability
Right.
specifically,
Right.
and it is
Yeah.
very portable, right? Like you can take it anywhere
Right.
with you. The Wacom one is still
It's got
relatively
its
like
own
a
battery.
Cintiq. Yeah, it's like a monitor, and you have to plug it into the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely an entry level for people who can't afford like the $1,500, $1,000 model. Like if you just have a phone, and it doesn't even have to be the newest phones. It could be any phone that can run Infinite Painter. Okay,
Right.
and it's compatible with the Wacom One, and it goes way back in time, like a lot, like old phones.
Right.
You just spend that $500 and get a dongle, right? Bam, you got potentially a,
How does it perform though?
it performs amazingly. It performs as
Really?
if, yeah, the only problem, again, like I mentioned, is that you can't touch stuff and you can't make customizable hotkeys. And because of touch, you can't pinch and increase the screen. At least I don't know how to yet.
Right.
But this is something that I'm sure Sean will work on and make. He said he's going to get the Wacom One and see what's up. And he'll intuitively know what I'm getting at, right? He'll be like,
But
"Oh
there's
yeah,
no desktop version of Infinite Painter. People keep saying the desktop version of Infinite Painter. Is there a desktop?
no, there isn't." That's why I
Man, I
said
would
it the
die
way
for
that I
that.
said. It would
Holy shit.
be. It would feel like it would be and I'll show you guys. I'll demonstrate it one day, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty
Wow.
remarkable to think that my phone is enough to
Just
to
for the
have a
record,
working
guys,
station.
we're not sponsored by Infinite Painter here. Like we're just legitimate fans. I don't know, maybe you are, but I know I'm
Well,
not. Yeah,
I'm helping them, but I'm not
yeah,
officially sponsored by them. No, not in
yeah,
that way.
yeah, yeah. This is not. We're not. This sounds a lot like a paid promotion. It's not. It really is that good.
It's a
So
good app. I'll show it
yeah,
next time, and we'll talk about it.
yeah,
But anyway, sorry, that was a long-winded answer again, but I think it was an important one because
yeah.
some people just can't afford to spend like a grand or so on the thing, but maybe half a grand you can save up for that and buy and
You're
just got it
you're
going.
getting some answers to next upcoming questions. Another one was Vloopy asking, "Would love to hear your thoughts on the new Wacom One."
Yeah,
So if you can
I
just give
think I'm
a
gonna
little
put
bit of
together
wrap
like a
up on
whole
that.
video, or maybe I'll stream it and we'll talk about it more directly.
Okay.
I've played with it only on my phone. I mean, it works like a, a tablet screen. So if you're used to what that is, it's actually a very viable option. It costs as much as the old school tablets used to cost, and I'm not talking about the screen tablets. Like I'm talking about like just the actual Wacom tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
looked like they for once made it
so
affordable.
it's really affordable, and it works fine. It works great, and I think this is
Huh.
their solution against their competition, their Chinese competition, which makes sense.
Hoyan, XP Pen, etc.
Yeah, this is direct response, and this is the value of competition because it makes
Hmm.
better products. You know,
Okay, let's get to the next one. Unless you have a thought, Adam.
I have no thoughts. No, I don't think.
I don't have thoughts of any kind.
I don't know if you had gotten the Wacom One in.
Nothing informations.
Okay. Alan Smith asks, to achieve your different values, have you got white selected and then you use pen pressure to achieve your color value, or
Yeah,
do you have pen pressure off and specifically set color each time?
no, I have pen pressure on, and then I will push down to get the value, and then I'll color pick from there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Same here. Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's
Anton Road
rich.
to Mastery asks, uh, dang, does he use reference when he draws that fast?
No, that's why I can draw that fast. Um, Usually, when I use reference in the way that you're thinking about, it's usually for things I don't know how to draw or paint, or things I haven't painted. I painted something very similar to this. What you're seeing. This is not like entirely unique design. But if I had to, which I do a lot for professional stuff, I look at a lot of reference.
Yeah.
And at some point, I will stop looking at that reference. Like if I, let's say, get a job working on like some sort of military game, so I'm going to look at a lot of military artwork, right? And look at military like reference. And if I work on it for like a month, at some point, I'll have like a secondhand knowledge of what imagery I can put into my image, like from my subconscious, because of all that reference gathering and all that studying and all that painting over and over the same subject matter. Eventually, I don't need to like think about it anymore, you know? And that's where a lot of my visual library comes from. It's either from like working on something for a long time, or just like straight up reference gathering and studying like the old fashioned way. I'm doing that right now with hands. I'm trying to get like a better understanding of hands, specifically because I know when you're telling a story via comic book, you're gonna have to draw hands holding cans, hands holding vans, hands holding bands. You know, just like hands holding stuff. And I need to learn how to do this. And so I've been going to like coffee shops, and I've been drawing people at the gym. And it's been a very effective strategy.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that's kind of the thing, drawing hands in pockets, hands casting very thick, opaque spells, hands
Yes.
behind your back, hands playing with your hair, in a nested in hair. We've seen it all, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of it's the debt all artists must pay, as we have to learn how to draw those faces and hands.
Yeah, I only know how to draw. I mean, it's expanding now, but at the time, I only knew how to draw the Frazetta hand and like just like all the epic hands,
Yeah,
because that's all
yeah.
I needed to draw.
Even when somebody's drinking coffee with epic hands, you know?
Yeah, but I need to draw more like artistic, just casual hand gestures, and I don't know how to do that. I don't have that kind of understanding. My understanding of hands is more of like a stencil or stamp. Like I draw it out, but it's like a stencil. It might as well just be a stencil, right? Like I'm just like, oh yeah, got to do this, got to do the Frazetta hand, do that. I don't really know the functionality as much as I should, but I am now. I'm actually getting some really valuable information. I'm sure one day it will be a tutorial once I get some profound knowledge on this.
Okay. Courtney asks, how large of an image do you use to complete these types of paintings?
It's usually above 2K, whether it's the width or the height, whatever is the longest. And for client work, I definitely go even bigger. But it all depends.
How about resolution?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like 2K, like 2,000 pixels by 3,000.
Sorry, the
Minimum.
DPI I meant to say, yeah.
Oh, DPI I don't really care about unless I know I'm printing. I think prints
Yeah.
you have to go above like 300, and then for digital, it really doesn't matter. If you decrease the DPI right now on this file, it will also decrease the resolution.
Yeah.
But if you keep the DPI, like, let's say 12 or whatever, something low, and then increase the resolution again to like 7,000 or something, it has no real significance in the performance. It's still going to be a heavy file. It's more about information that's being stored in the actual JPEG when you save it, so that way it can be printed properly. But if you just save it as a JPEG for the web, it's going to look just the same.
Yeah.
As you see
No
it.
difference.
Okay, Mamsa.
Let's like do a real lightning round for sure this time.
There's only 3 left.
Okay, great, perfect.
Mamsa says, I know you have a video about the subject, but I wonder if you have any advice for people who struggle to study. I mean, advice to get less copying and work, more studying.
Yeah, I'm actually going to probably put together a video about that again. And it'll be more fresh, it'll be more recent, and more, modern, I guess. Because I my philosophy on this has changed a bit, but not too much. It's still principally the same idea. But I do have different thoughts these days. But ultimately, when it comes to studying, the ultimate thing you need to get out of it is you just need to have some sense of accomplishment. And I think a lot of times people, when they study, they just do it mindlessly, not knowing whether they're accomplishing something or not. And this is why I say copying is not a good strategy. Because when you copy, you don't actually know if you've learned anything. So let's say you copy, then you should follow that immediately with like a 10-minute like test and see how you do. And then once you realize you've learned nothing, then you realize you've not accomplished much that you were at least aiming for. So if you go into a study and say, okay, I'm looking at this artist that I really appreciate, and my takeaway is I want to have a better understanding of values. That's like your takeaway for today's study. So you go study, and then you do the test, and then you see how much more you understand. And earlier I mentioned that I will draw and study until I've learned something, right? I mentioned that earlier. This is what I mean. Like when I'm painting, let's say if I'm drawing hands, like I'll say, okay, it's hard for me to draw a hand when I'm looking at it from the pinky side. Like I'm looking towards it and the pinky's facing me, right? And the inside of the hand where the thumb's on the outside. And I'm like, okay, I need to come up with a system that will allow me to see this easier and be able to draw consistently a little bit better hands from that position, even if it's just a little bit better. And then from there, then I move on to whatever else I want to learn. And then I just keep cycling that through. I just keep doing that. And then I'll come back to the pinky hand angle again. And I was like, I can learn how to draw this even better. And I can add on to that and so forth and so on. But I always try to like leave with some sort of accomplishment. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Adam.
I do. I have a suggestion. There's a video that when it comes to that kind of drawing and that kind of struggle and stuff like that, there's a video that Ahmed Al-Duri had posted. It's an old video. If he draws a portrait of a woman with, it's just a portrait of a woman with an orange sweater on, and in it he discusses how you break down things into simple shapes and stuff like that. And that particular type of very classical objective observation of things is what will help anybody tackle drawing things that are technically nightmares. Hands are technical nightmares if you think of them subjectively. You have a hand, a palm that's a certain specific shape that does slightly bend, and then you've got, you've got all of your knuckles and your fingers slightly angled inwards, and you've got the anatomy and the muscles, and they're all slightly angled towards the middle, and then you've got foreshortening, and his thumb is up in your face pointing straight at the camera. If you think about it that way, then quit art, because you're never going to ever solve hands looking at it that way. But if you look at it more as just a series of two-dimensional shapes, flatten your image and look at it two-dimensionally in terms of that type of observation, and then once you've figured out the basic objective shape of it, and you break that down into individual shapes, you'll solve your hands. And for me, when it comes to drawing hands, even if I draw a design from my head, I generally tend to reference hands if I plan on doing anything serious with them. They're just so complex and so expressive and so specific and so technical that you really kind of have to do that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's great.
They're just too complicated.
All right. Yassine asks, do you guys think the aesthetic design, shape, contrast, and all the more subconscious stuff is more important than conceptual design in terms of ideas and story, or vice versa?
It depends on what you're doing. If you're just trying to give a good idea, then yeah, you don't have to worry about drawing really well. And if you're trying to say design like a costume, then that's like all you're supposed to be doing is design it really well. It's gonna look good, you know. Like there's no story behind. I call it Boba Fett versus Darth Vader, right? Boba Fett had no story behind him. He just looked cool, you know.
Yeah.
And then Darth Vader doesn't necessarily look as cool as Boba Fett, but he was cool, like his story, right? Like the arc that he had, and
Yeah.
and to tell that you don't actually have to draw. You can write it down to explain how someone's cool and why they're cool. You can write it down conceptually versus making it visually cool. But usually you got to do both. You got to like have something that's reasonably cool and then make it look cool, like appealing for other people to want to enjoy. There are franchises out there, movies and stuff that are just that one thing. It just looks cool. And those types of movies are like the Fast and Furious movies or like John Wick, where there's like very limited story or premise. It's just they killed my dog and stole my car, and then the rest of the movie is just like a disaster film, and the disaster is John Wick, you know. And everyone, all the victims are all the criminals, you know. And that's all it is. And so then it's like, how cool do we make all the fight scenes? Like, it doesn't matter about practicality. We don't have to worry about physics. Like, how do we make John Wick look like he's destroying the universe with every move he makes, you know? A lot of Jackie Chan movies were like this too. Was more about like the stunts and about what he was doing versus like the story. And then you have movies that are like all about the story, like you know, like Good Will Hunting. There's no visual effects that are like over the top, right? But it's like a moving story, you know. And so there's definitely a difference. And then you have those like gems, which are both. You have like a compelling story and you have amazing visuals. But those are very challenging to do. It's very challenging to do both. But generally speaking, as a concept artist, I think most of the time we're focused on making things look cool. Somebody else already came up with ideas. Usually. Every once in a while people will ask me my opinion, but that's not as often as you think. All right.
Do you have any thoughts, Adam, or do you want me to restate the question?
Yeah, restate the question quick.
Yep. Do you guys think that aesthetic design, shapes, contrast, and all the more subconscious stuff is more important than conceptual design in terms of ideas and story, or vice versa?
That is such a good question. And there's a good argument for both sides of that. I will, by the way, I'm going to end on this answer because I have to get my kids in a couple minutes. But
totally fine.
It depends on the type of artist you are. It depends on how you create. There's two sides to creation. There's the objective and there's the subjective, right? And the objective is shapes. Feng Zhu had said years ago, he was asked the question, what's one of the most important things in the world that you ever learned? And he said, everything is shapes. When I look at Anthony's painting, even though it's a cool creature and it's got skin and muscles and all the different striations and the all these different things going on, ultimately what we're looking at is just an abstract shape. And does that shape objectively look visually appealing? Is that shape balanced? That's the visual side of things. But conceptually, having that narrative, having that depth, having that backstory helps to create depth in a way that just thinking visually might not achieve. Some people are very good designers. They're very good at making aesthetic shapes. Look at Syd Mead. You know, he doesn't necessarily have a ton of story in all of his artwork, but visually, holy smokes, it's just spellbindingly gorgeous. But you look at concept artists for Lord of the Rings, and story is everything. The Radagast's nest home, where he slapped pieces of wood together and scraps to make a house nestled in the nook of a tree. It's two sides, and I believe that there's two different types of artists. And I try my best to flip-flop between the two, the balance of the two. I tend to be more of a narrative artist myself. So I don't think one is more important than the other. I think it's just a question of focus, ultimately.
Absolutely. Depends on what you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're working on a story, then you gotta like be more narratively driven. If you're working on
all
costume design,
of my artwork is narratively driven. If you look at any of the paintings, there's always some story, some folklore, some urban legend behind everything I do, because I feel
Absolutely.
that's, for me, that's what helps me fuel and generate ideas and add more depth to my design. If I try to be too superficial, I hate what I draw.
Yeah,
It doesn't do
totally.
anything for me. You know,
I'm all superficial. I just draw
you're all
shapes.
superficial. There you go.
I just
Cheers.
draw nothing but shapes. All right.
All right, Anthony, I love you to pieces. Thank you so much for having me on your channel again. It's been a lot of fun watching you paint and shooting the shit with you. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
get my little
absolutely.
ones. All right.
All right. Well, thanks for being a guest. I appreciate you.
It was a
Cheers.
lot of fun. I really had a good time.
All right.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
guys, for hanging out
Peace
too.
out. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Again, special thanks to Adam for hanging out with us. Go check out his channel. Mike, can you drop it in the links, please, or in the chat for people to check it out? Or you could find him under Lucid Pixel. And I think Pixel, instead of
I
an
dropped a
E,
link earlier. I'll drop another one.
yeah, it's a U at the end. UL instead of a EL on Pixel. Then, yeah, he's great. He's got a lot of good content there. You guys should check it out. Also, thanks to everybody just joining in who have been following my stuff for quite a while. Appreciate you guys. And any newcomers, feel free to subscribe. We try to stream every week. We're also going to be adding a lot more content to the YouTube channel. It's time for me to start providing a lot more free content for people to join in. And also, it's going to be a great way for me to start to mention other ways that I plan on teaching and helping people out. So please subscribe here. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you should follow me there as well. I'm pretty active on Instagram. ArtStations, I got DeviantArt, I got places to find my artwork at a higher res. Instagram is not as high res as these other platforms. And thanks again. Appreciate everybody. Cheers. See you guys later. Oh, you want to say bye, Mike?
Peace out, guys.
All right, see you guys.